Hi guys, Noobmaster here. I'm back again with another build. This build will be somewhat of a different change up from my usual builds. Not really much, it's similar. So this one here particularly is going to Charlene Abels. And what this will be the, I can say, the 6th order T-line mixture of a Bluetooth, I can say hi-fi Bluetooth setup. So basically it will be, as you can see, all this equipment there that I'll be using. It's all car audio and basically transforming it into a fairly powerful hi-fi system. Obviously I can use your Bluetooth and your radio and USB if you've got a few good songs on your stick. So I'm just going to give you a rundown, and you can see from far more or less what I've got here for this build. Obviously it's just excluding the wood is somewhere else, but I'll just give you a quick rundown on more or less what I've got here for this. Okay, starting from the top, as you can see there's a red and black wires. So these will be the wires going to the amp from the power supply. And these are basically copper wires, and basically, as you can see there's two sets of speakers there. The first one, the 5.25 inch two-way coaxial speaker, will be going into the T-line, and then the 4-inch driver, also two-way coaxial, will be basically like a support. It will be going into a seal section just as a backup support. But the T-line side will be more than enough for that. So then you will see there the white cable. That will be the cable basically for my power going into my AC adapter plug. And as you can see, the plug is there, and then there's RCA cables there. The RCA cable will be obviously from the deck to the amp. And then as you can see, other red and white wires, these will be for the speakers. Also copper wires there. So going further down, let me just show you guys. Okay, so now powering this whole setup will be that 2-channel there. I could have opted for monoblock. I could have opted for 4-channel. I could have opted for 2-channel. So, you know, power is power in a sense, especially if I'm drawing a low power. In this instance, I don't really need a monoblock to actually get loud, and this is going to power a 6th order bandpass, which is super efficient and can get quite loud fast. So I don't really need a monoblock for that. So just out of experimentation, but I already know because I've been doing it with 4 channels and that, so I already know how this thing's gonna pan out. This 2-channel will work. It'll be 100% more than enough power to actually supply the subwoofer. And this brand here is a Powerbase, and this is South African based Powerbase. So I'll reiterate that this is not Powerbase USA. And then basically as my signal source there will be the Pioneer deck, Bluetooth enabled, so that will be nice and sweet. Then the subwoofer, which is my beloved, I love the JBLs. The JBLs are very nice. The JBL Stage 10.2 10-inch driver SVC. So this one will be perfect for this application. And then as you can see there, the terminal cup holders for the back, that's to connect to the T-lines or to join the T-lines onto the amp from externally. And then there is a toggle switch there. I'm still deciding on this little baby here of the indicator for my voltage. I might put it in, I might not put it in. There's no real need for that, but then I'll see. I'll decide as the build progresses. Then there is beneath that, to power this whole thing, would be then the 12 volt 20 amp power supply. so that's more than enough power for this application. So with this build, the 6th order bandpass that I chose is the one that I did a video on of the free design. So I just opted to actually build that one for the hi-fi system. I think it's a good option, a good choice for a lot of genre based music. You're not really gonna miss out on a lot. You know, you're gonna miss out on a few here and there. When it comes to the lows, forget it. It's not really gonna perform well. But when it comes to some of the lows, the upper 30s and that, all the way up to 80, 70, 80, you'll be fine. You'll be able to hear everything perfect from that 6th order. Sorry about the little flicker there. That's just the light. So the T line will also be helping a little bit on the upper end of the bass frequency chart. So from around about 65 Hertz, that's where the T line will basically start picking up, and then the 6th order will be also playing at its peak performance there as well, because it's within the tunings. So it'll play very well, and the T line will start picking it up, and as the 6th order starts to slope from about 75, 80 down, the T line will just carry it through for your drum kick bass. There's 200 Hertz, 100 Hertz, type of bass 300, and obviously the tweeter and that for up there with vocals and that. So yeah, this will be quite an interesting build. I'm excited to actually do this, and yeah, let's just get going. So from here onwards, I won't be really explaining what I've done, the chalk and what that's. I'll see, maybe 1 or 2 videos, but the majority of the video from now will just be with pictures, and then you'll actually see what I've done, and I'll just write descriptions on what I've done at the bottom. Okay, let's get this build started. Okay, this is now the lovely 10-inch of the JBL Stage. Wow, this thing looks nice. This will be the first 10-inch build I've done, so I'm pretty excited about this. So what I'm going to be doing now is just a polarity test to see if it's okay, also the resistance test, because this is supposed to be a 4 ohm, so make sure it's a 4 ohm, and then I do a polarity test. For those that haven't watched the other videos, I do the polarity test with a 9-volt battery. So if positive and negative is right on the subwoofer, it will go up if I connect it right, or if it's right wired from the suppliers, it'll go up for positive side and it will go down for negative side if I reverse the polarity. It doesn't really matter, because either way, as long as it moves and your resistance is right and the actual sub itself is not damaged, you should be fine. So let's do that quickly. Okay, right now I'm going to be doing the resistance on this voice coil. So on other videos I don't really show it, but the proper way to do it is you first touch to get a reading there, 0.8, sometimes a 1 or so, and then whatever reading you get here, you just basically deduct that amount from what you read there to get the final one. So even if it goes up to 5, you just deduct that 0.7 or 0.8, and then you'll be in 4 point whatever. So let's just see. It's a bit awkward. As you can see there, it's 4.7, 4.6. So obviously if you deduct that 0.7, it's right smack on 4 ohms. Very, very accurate, and that's one of the reasons why I love JBL. Especially this line of their subwoofers, the Stage, for the price and the actual output you can get out of these subs is amazing. So I'm not surprised. And also a nice thing is they always come with the gasket that you apply here. even though I've got extra, I think I've got something like 10 meters or something extra, but you know, they supply it, so sometimes I use it, sometimes I don't, I forget they've supplied. But I just love the way, or the fact that they actually think of the small little details. Okay, right, so now we're doing the actual polarity test just to make sure that the sub is moving. I inspected the sub with my eyes, everything is 100%. So far so good. Resistance, so far so good. Okay, so let's get this over and done with. Right, now the polarity test. So these terminals here are a bit far apart, so I can't really necessarily now touch. This is why I did this right now. So on this side, or the bigger terminal here is the positive and the smaller one is negative, but on the actual battery itself, the positive is the smaller one, this one here, as you can see. So what I'm going to do now is just touch the negative of this. So if I touch the positive side of this battery, this should go up. Okay, let's just have a look. As you can see, there we go, it goes up. And obviously if I reverse everything over, it will go down. It will, like it's sucking. And then obviously right polarity, it's pushing. Okay, so for me, I'm happy with this thing. So now I can actually start with assembly. As you can see, I've already marked off to cut off the circle for the subwoofer, so I can basically start installing the sub in there. And I've already laid out the, you can say, like the foundation of the wood pieces to be mounted. Alright, it's already done. I'll show you in form of pictures right now on that one there. Okay, so let's get this thing started. Okay, now I've unpacked this amplifier, the 2-channel. The box is done for the subwoofer right now, so I'm just waiting for it to cure properly. So that is done. Now I'm busy with the amp, and I'll be busy with the deck. So as you can see, it's quite a nice, neat little amp for 2-channel. It's got two 20 amp fuses. And then if you do the math, the power supply, I'll only be really adjusting it to 13 volts. So I will be using that calculation of 13 multiplied by 20 per channel to 20 amp fuse. So the 13 multiplied by 20 gives me about 260 watts per channel. So obviously this will be bridged. As you can see, it is bridgeable. As you can see there, it is bridgeable. So yeah, you can basically double that amount of power. So as you can see here, on the manual it does state here 220 amp fuses. Signal to noise ratio is 90 dB and below. Okay, frequency response is 20 Hz and up. And as you can see there, at 4 ohms the power output is 300. As you saw with the calculation, it's quite close according to the manual there. And at 2 ohms per channel is 450. Doubt that, but it will be tested. I'll just see and adjust the amp and just get it accordingly. And anyway, I won't really be pushing too much power because this is the JBL SVC version, so I'll be running it at rated power. So interesting fact with this, if you let's turn our box is my crossovers. Okay, so this one basically is at 50. So basically at 50 Hertz, then it starts to slope. So that's for both the HPF and the LPF. It's at 50. So okay, it's fairly high. You know, low is better. And, unlike the Pioneer is at 30. 35 or 32, one of those two. So you know, the Pioneer actually gives you that nice grace of being able to dig into the 30s very well. So unlike this one here now, this one's in the 50s. But nonetheless, the box is tuned in the 40s, so the low 40s, 44, 45, which is fine. So it will drag it into the 35 response up. So it's fine, it's okay for now. At least now this one can give me more power than probably the Pioneer, but that will have to be tested and seen. Okay, so you know the normal stuff, the bass boost, which I'll never use, that's pointless. And this one comes with this remote as well, but that won't be used as well, so everything will be controlled via the radio. Yeah, so let me just put everything together and just test this thing and set the gains. I'll also pull out the deck. So let me just get started with this. Okay, so now here's the deck. It's the Pioneer MVH S235BT. This is a Bluetooth enabled deck and also Android friendly, and it will play basically, I would say, 95% of your audio that's out there. FLAC, MP3, WMA, it'll play it. And standard 50 watts RMS, which Pioneer most of the times actually produce that per channel. So right now I'll be basically adjusting the gains of this with the amp, and yeah, basically get this thing over and done with. What I forgot to mention is the actual amp is the Class AB, and Class AB amps are usually very good when it comes to quality output in general. Doesn't mean the Class D is also bad, it's just the AB, you can say it more specializes in that area. Okay, so I'm not really gonna go in depth of this thing here. It's just to show you as a deck and bring you out of the box. Same thing with the amp, bring you out of the box. So now I'm just gonna put them together, adjust. I'm gonna test the RCA output, how many volts I'm getting. I would bet it will be 2 volts. I think basically all the Pioneers starting, they're all starting at 2 volts, up 2 and 4. So I think this will be a 2 volt deck. Yeah, so let me just get this started and then set the gains, and I know I'm done and I can focus on actually completing this whole thing. Okay. Okay, right, the project is done and dusted. As you can see with the picture there, everything's installed, everything is working, everything is playing. So I'm just going to talk about two issues that I've got with the Pioneer. Now, don't get me wrong, the Pioneer is it's a good, this is a good deck. It's, make no mistake about it, it's a good deck. But there's just two issues that I've got. For DIY type of people like me now, and people that take it a little bit more serious, it's not really an issue because you'll know what is actually happening. But for the average Joe out there, that's something else, and I'll cover that issue now. So as you can see on the left hand side, it's the JBL deck that I bought for my personal system, my complete JBL setup, and obviously the Pioneer that I've now done for this project. So the JBL is a 1 volt and then that is a 2 volt. Okay, so the one gripe that I've got with that Pioneer, specifically that model, I don't think all of them are like that. I think this one specifically is a fact of the matter is the default setting on the actual radio is on super bass. So that presents a problem, because let's say for argument's sake you are a professional installer, client comes, they've got this deck, you install everything, and now you have to set the gains, and in my case I set my gains and everything with the O-scope. You will set it on a flat response. That's recommended. You set it on a flat response to get whatever wattage you want from your subwoofer, whatever wattage you want. If you got a 4-channel or 2-channel, you set it accordingly, okay, and on a flat response. Now this thing on super bass is on +4. That's the super bass. So here's the issue now. Okay, you install, you set your gains, the client is happy, it sounds awesome, client is gone. 2 months or 3 months or 8 months or 1 year or 2 years, something happens that the battery has to be taken out and exchanged and put in a new battery, or the battery dies. What will happen? Those settings that you've done go back to the radio's default, which is super bass. And if you set it quite fairly high but clean on a flat response, what will happen is you will be going into a massive clip signal. That's just guaranteed. And what will happen is if a person doesn't really know what's happening, they'll think, oh, this thing is very loud now, you know, and then I'll turn it up, and then boop, there goes your equipment. Okay, so for me that's a big no-no. Pioneer should have made this thing as a default on flat. Okay, I don't know what they were thinking about that, but that's my feeling on that one there. The JBL is flat. It's on a flat response. From the time I switched it on, it was on a flat response. But unfortunately that one is on super bass. Now another problem with that super bass is I had to find some sort of a compromise. I had to think worst case scenario in case this thing goes to default, how it will play. Bear in mind that the two T-line towers are playing off the radio, and the radio will give it whatever 50 watts RMS rating at full blast, and a T-line is a super efficient enclosure, so you really need about 5 watts or so, 10 watts. So now this thing is pumping in close to 50 watts into the T-line. So once you start going into higher volumes, let's say for argument's sake the volume on this day goes to 62, so, and I set the gains at 55. So if you go, let's say for argument's sake you go to 40, it'll start, it's almost like a chuffing, like a funny chuffing sound coming from the T-lines. Okay, probably it's the limitations of the driver, because there's a T-line now, super efficient and all that. The subwoofer can handle that. The subwoofer says, hey buddy, let's go T-line, and the T-line's like, hey, you know, on that super bass default setting now, on a super bass. the T-line says, hey, that's a bit too much for me, you know. So you basically limit yourself on that. So I had to think of a worst case scenario, and I had to, for argument's sake, on super bass now set the subwoofer at about 300 watts or so, 310 watts. When I go to a flat response, it gives me about 18-90 watts. So it's okay. Obviously you won't get full potential of what the system can do unless you go now to volume 50 going to 60 now, then you can actually hear it. But then obviously your T-line now is going to be the one holding it back a little bit. So it's just one of those disappointments on the Pioneer deck. I think I will be sending an email to Pioneer and just talk about this issue, so that maybe in future that they can just think about these things, you know. And then another issue that I've got with this one, which is not really much, not a train smash, is that JBL has got a on and off button and that one doesn't. So with that one I put the ignition, which is going to be the on and off, onto a switch. So like I say, it's not really much of a train smash, but at least this one has got an on and off button. So other than that, the deck is for me is fine. It's just obviously remembering the default setting of super bass and actually just adjusting your bass accordingly. Other than that, the thing is fine actually. So that's it for this build, guys. I hope you enjoy it. I actually want to take another shot at it, but not using that deck. And initially I wanted to buy that deck, and then I thought to myself, okay, a lot of people like Pioneer, and you know, they're gonna look at JBL and be like, JBL, what, you know. So I opted for that one. This one is $600 more than that one. For me, it's a no-brainer between the two. If I had to now choose, knowing this information, I would automatically go for the JBL. Just period. They're both Bluetooth. I mean, yeah, so I'll just go for the JBL. But I'm wishing to take another crack at it. Exact same setup with a different deck. Probably I'll go for the JBL, seeing that I've yielded very good results with this thing, and actually push it to what it's supposed to be, you know, with gain settings and that. But yeah, anyway guys, enjoy and keep on basing, guys. Peace.